Psychotechnologies live.
Woo! Welcome. I gotta hit a few more buttons just now. Get us.
Okay, I'll start the intro then.
Okay, you want to explain what the heck is peristalsis of?
Okay, so today is a very special episode. So before stream, we were talking about. I was saying that I felt like last episode wasn't as good as the previous episode, and at least like for me. And as I was trying to describe it, whatever stuff, and then the thing that we came to was, I feel like there's a peristalsis between my
What's
attention.
peristalsis? Where does the word peristalsis come from?
What does the word peristalsis mean? So peristalsis is, dictionary definition is a series of wave-like muscle contractions that move food through the digestive tract.
Right, so
Essentially,
some sort of stomach jig.
yeah. So essentially, what happens is when you eat food, your stomach is, it has autonomic muscles, which means like you don't actually, like, past the swallowing, you don't control the food until like the sphincter. Right, that whole process is just happens by itself. And the way it works is that the muscles, like, you get this tube, and then the tube does these like wave like functions that slowly move the food along. So like your normal muscles, you do, it's like, and including your heart muscles, it's like very like contract, relax, like, it's very, like a thing. And then the stomach muscles are very much like much more gentle, where they're sort of always moving, and then it's designed in a way that it moves mostly one direction, unless you vomit, and then that's really the diaphragm again. But food digestion aside, the muscles do this wave-like pattern that push things along.
Okay, so we take that and we're going to some mental model.
Yeah, so I get like visions or connections of it, or I don't know how to describe it exactly, of this during conversations, or when I'm doing things, right? So I'm having insights now, so it's I'm trying to be true to those and to the YouTube channel. So yeah, so what we were talking about is that attention versus attention versus focus. Awareness versus focus. So you get awareness, which is like very broad. So like if you're sort of relaxed and just taking everything in, you're not like focused on something, like you're not looking at something like very specific, you're sort of just aware of what's going on around you. So situational awareness is an example of that, where you're not looking at a person, you're looking at every person, and you're not looking at them in depth, you're just aware of them. And so it's, like legend has it, or myths, or whatever, the way like the sort of common sense view that's taken in our circles is that there's always a trade-off. So you can't have 100% awareness and 100% focus. So you can't like focus on a person while being 100% focused on a thing while being 100% situationally aware. There's always a trade-off. So for me, I find during the course of the day, or conversations, or when I'm doing an activity, that 100% awareness to that 100% focus is sort of always rippling. So it's always like shifting. So I'm like talking to a person, and then, as the conversation gets more focused, I'll focus more on the thing, and I'll forget about the surroundings or the general context, and it's more just talking about or looking at the thing that we're dealing with. And then I'll also go backwards, and then as the thing becomes less salient, I'm going to move more towards awareness of the conversation and the context and whatever's going on. So it's kind of like, as you get really into something, you get tunnel vision, you lose sight of the surroundings. And so that, I think, like for me, like the ADD, I think, is very, where like that used to jump all the time. where like I couldn't do that nice moving back and forth. And then I think more normie, like non-ADD or whatever, you can do that. That comes more easily. And so I'm like generally aware of that peristalsis of attention focus relationship.
So there's kind of like there's a couple of skills in here. Like one skill from like the meditative skills. One skill is knowing when your attention has left, right? Knowing when you are no longer. So classic meditation, I'm paying attention to the breath, right? And then I'm doing that for a while, and suddenly I'm thinking something else. So there is a meditative skill of knowing when I'm on the object of something else rather than on the breath anymore. And that's like one of the many skills in meditation is knowing that I'm not here anymore. Like I actually know when I'm gone. I don't like I'm not gone for 5 minutes and then I go, whoops, I was meant to be on the breath. Well, that's the first thing. And then with some practice, it's 4 minutes, and some other practice, it's 3 and 2 and 1. And eventually it's like 10 seconds. And then I'm like, I see you as I leave. I'm like, oh, there's the leaving happening. So that's one meditative skill is the like skill of knowing when I'm leaving the object.
Yeah, it's like your awareness of your focus.
Mm-hmm. Right. And being able to be focused while being aware of being focused without that being a distraction.
Yeah. Being aware of your awareness of your focus. So
it's like a metacognitive skill that like you can, while being focused on the breath, you know whether you are doing well.
Yeah, you're aware of whether you are or not focused on the breath.
Right.
Because it's like very difficult or impossible. I can't remember to focus on your focus. I don't do that because it doesn't make sense to me to focus on your focus.
The proposal is that you can train metacognitive skills. You can train yourself to know if you're distracted, if you're getting tired, if you're
right. So to have awareness of your focus, is I think, the more correct way to do it.
Well, that's it's sort of like a progressive skill that as you meditate more, you build up this progressive skill of being able to do that while staying meditative.
Yeah, like that's maybe we're not saying the same thing, but that's one of the skills I think that you want to build along the meditative path is to have the awareness of your focus.
Right. And then also, so from there, another skill, I don't know about the next, cautious in making a progression. Another skill is you may naturally have a contraction of awareness, focusing on the breath. And then you have a contraction of attention, focusing on the breath. And then you have a bit of awareness that's tracking whether you're doing that well or starting to get distracted. Right? And so then there's like an expanding of attention to include what's in awareness as well. And then there's a natural progression to like a broadening of awareness. Many meditative practices don't talk about this very well, but naturally start having like an expanding sense of awareness.
Yeah.
And like holding an expanding sense of awareness. And then so things like
I feel it more as like, for me, it's like now it's like building that muscle. Because like awareness and attention and stuff, like those are, I don't know, like I don't mean literally muscles, but it does feel like there's a lot of muscle memory,
mental muscle,
or things like muscle memory there.
Right. So then there's certain spiritualities that go directly for awareness. Things like the Alexander technique is one where first thing we do is we just pay attention to the space around you and shift to like open focus awareness. And then from there, then we do the next thing. So many meditative practices and many spiritualities take you down a progression of expanding awareness. One of the things that does is it starts including everything in your awareness. So if you are not yet in the like most expanded form of your awareness, you will start to be in it very soon with various practices.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's like one of those, I guess, milestones or markers along the way
Mhm.
that you want to hit.
Right. So there's another dimension to that, which is also a lot of meditative practices increase the energy so that all of your mind is actually switched on. You're not like half there, half zoned out. You're actually all here.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. And I think that, yeah, that one. Oh, sorry. Did you want to continue?
keep going.
Yeah. I find that one of like being sort of fully aware of your awareness or something. I don't know how to or like attentive to your full awareness. I find it extremely calming because there's nothing that I have to worry about anymore.
Mm.
Because the only things I have to worry about now are things that I'm not aware of, and I can't do anything about those anyway, more or less, like asterisks. But so it does just like calm me down.
Right.
And also I feel like I can take more risks because I'm less likely to get like caught by surprise or sidelined.
Hmm. Because you're
That's
aware of all
awareness.
things. Right.
Yeah, it's like situational awareness for yourself, I guess.
Hmm. Right. So there's this expanding out, there's this increasing in energy, and we get to this expanded, increased energy state, and then hang out there. Like half the spiritual journey is like up and out. Like we're going there, we're catching everything, we're being present to it all. And then there's like kind of nothing to do there other than like we see it all. And then there's the second half of the spiritual journey is the descent down the mountain, which is the interesting question of like, wait a second, why was my attention and awareness contracted in the first place?
Mm-hmm. So is that are you talking about like focus?
Uh, yeah. Why was it the focus not everything all the time already? Why did I need a spiritual practice that took me out, took me to everything?
Okay, I think just to break up that step a little bit, I think there's the step of two full awareness and then the step of two full focus, and
Mhm.
then there's then the awareness and the focus of the journey itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also a like celebrate being there. Like it's kind of nice and good to be big and spacious and like yeah,
Yeah.
I did the thing. I got to a like mental like whatever I wanted to get to.
Yeah. I found that I have to do the journey like over and over and over again. And or not I have to, or I have to, I choose to, whatever. Um the so it's like really important to enjoy it because otherwise it's just samsara, right?
Right.
Like, yeah. So like it's really important, like whatever you're doing, to try to enjoy what you're doing.
Right.
And that doesn't mean don't put effort in it or what, or like try.
Well, you have to enjoy starting and enjoy getting like traveling along the journey.
Yeah.
To enjoy getting out of bed because you kind of do it every day of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't learn to enjoy it today, it'll be a long time, a long,
Yeah.
you know,
I found the same
the
thing with
rest of
work.
your life.
Like work, I mean, the spiritual journey is I think, like for me, it's very like everything's together.
Mhm.
And so yeah, like whatever I'm doing, I try to enjoy doing it.
Mhm.
And if I'm not enjoying it, like expanding the awareness to include like that non-enjoyment or that misery or whatever,
Mhm.
because that's real, right? You're gonna be stuck in hell unless you're including the exits.
Mhm. Right. So there's this expanding out, and then we're full and like plentiful. And then the question of like, wait a second, why was there ever a contraction?
Okay.
So the second half of the journey, uh, what would be so interesting is to take the best thing ever, the grand spiritual awareness of everything, and contract it down to like a smaller sense of self or a smaller fraction of everything. Crazy.
Mhm.
What on earth would
Like
be
what were
this?
you looking at?
Yeah.
Like it was
What were you
probably
looking
important.
at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it
What
was
were you
probably, yeah.
Like you take the ADHD person who's just gone distracted, and you're like, that must have been really important for you to get so distracted.
Right. But also the thing you were looking at was important, and also the thing you're getting distracted by is important. And also, if you're just jumping around all the time, you're not going to be able to do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that we've sort of changed the landscape suddenly, where distractions are usually treated as the not important thing. Yet the distraction from the thing that is important that I'm trying to look at. Suddenly, let's like flip this around. Like that must have been really important for you to look over there.
Yeah. I do think like
changing the relationship to like an ADHD, right? Where usually distraction's bad. Now like distractions where like that must be really good.
Right. Yeah. I do think that's a thing like of sorry, I don't want to like jump move too quickly. I'm feeling it, like I'm feeling the distraction of like or whatever, like the peristalsis, attention, focus, sort of like it's like it feels like I'm eating something. It feels like I'm eating this experience.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like this is experience, and I'm like my awareness is surrounding it, and then my attention is like trying to digest it and like I don't know, whatever it does.
Okay. Well, let's ask some questions of this digestive process. Like what? Tell us more. What's going on? What does it feel like?
So this is like the first time I think I'm really like clicking it.
Something. Clicking something. Okay.
Yeah. But like there's this thing here that we're doing, like we're doing the YouTube channel. And so like that's I think like that broader, that context. So like that context artistry, you know, sort of how we in Toronto, how we call it. And so you're trying to like there's this larger context that I'm within, but also bigger than. Like in the sense I could just turn off my computer and now it's over. But also I'm within it, as in there's the thing going, like the YouTube is going, and I'm a character in the in Psychotechnology Live YouTube channel. And then so like that's kind of like that awareness where it's the situational awareness, and I'm always like keeping this on the back of my mind. You know, and also like I'm live on the internet, and like that's that is scary to a certain extent. Because like the internet is like in our days at least, it's a pretty dangerous place.
Right. You can still become viral overnight if you say the wrong thing on the internet.
Yeah.
Although that's probably becoming harder and harder with algorithms sort of like stopping that stuff from happening.
Yeah. But like when people are out to get you, they're out to get you.
Right.
And so like I'm trying to do that balance of talking real and being real and genuine, and also like kind of protecting myself, so also putting up walls but also being open, and also like playing up or whatever, like you know, trying to make it like a little more interesting, more dramatic, and also like being genuine and not just like making drama for drama's sake. So there's like a going towards what I think is interesting and relatable to people versus us staying within like talking how we would talk if we were off camera, which would be a lot more jargon, shorthand, lots of long pauses we do. And then there's the thing like the topic, the content that we're actually dealing with, and then that's like where the focus is. So it's like awareness on the situation, and then the focus on the topic at hand.
So you describe digestion as kind of like a process, like you're doing something in changing relationship to the topic or what's going on. Where does that want to go? Does that have somewhere it's going?
Sorry, when I was distracted, this actually feels really good. It's like a real, like as a meditation, it feels amazing. Yeah, I feel a little higher. Yeah, I feel a little like I'm on drugs, so it is hard to.
Right, so going through some kind of spiritual experience right now, although we don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah. but I get to name it because I'm here, right? Am I the first
Mhm.
one to experience it? It's it's the realization of the peristalsis of attention and focus,
Mm.
or awareness and focus, awareness, attention, and focus.
Mhm.
Boom! I just invented a new spiritual experience.
One day,
I discovered. I didn't invent it. I discovered it.
one day, someone has proposed something like a periodic table of experiences. Right? We'll be able to. There will exist some sort of map of experience 37 and experience 38 and experience 39, and be like laid out in some sort of dimensions. And you'll be able to say, I think I'm having an experience 42, and someone else will be, no, that sounds a lot more like 82. And it'll like be an
Yeah.
interesting map.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that.
Uh, I don't know if we
This,
will actually be able to plot such a thing out, but it could be very interesting to even try.
yeah, no, I'm definitely in for trying. Yeah, it feels good. It's like in my body.
You're like massaging the peristalsis experience with your own attention.
Yeah, it's like a full body. Okay. I think this has happened before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let you take lead.
Take lead, but there's nothing to do, Daniel.
Oh, that's nice.
There's a relationship to all experience, right? Where um often where like I must do something about the emotional, mental, physical phenomena that I'm experiencing. Right? Like I'm the agent, like I have to take control, I have to like stop feeling bad or something. Or, I need to like do something about my attention going through the peristalsis phenomena and like getting the hang of it. Right? Except that this is a spiritual line, right? There's nothing to do. And these things, the way that attention moves will move on its own without the agent doing anything, without feeling like I'm in the one doing the thing. It'll just keep doing.
Uh, Sometimes there's things to do.
Um, the proposal would be that the agent doesn't need to. It'll happen even without the like you feeling certainly like you're the one climbing the mountain. It's more like climbing the mountain happens because the body wants to climb the mountain, and so there's no point getting all like tied up in knots as the agent, as the like I'm in control of the body and I have to make it take every single step up this mountain. There's no point fussing with that when climbing the mountain will happen even without trying very hard. Just say, okay, buddy, let's walk, and the body just kind of walks. Daniel's lost in some attention control thing.
My whole body feels very thick.
Thick. Huh, okay. In a good way, apparently.
Feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on right now.
Do you feel like up in the air? Do you feel like grounded? Do you feel...
No, I feel very in my body.
Ooh. Okay, very in the body.
Yeah. But not in like an athletic way, and like relaxed way.
Oh, like it's okay to be here in the body?
Yeah.
Aha.
Like if I was by myself, I would be just sitting here enjoying it and not saying anything or thinking.
That's a good thing. That's very good. That's a lot of spiritual practices are like a journey back to the body, a journey to like it's okay to dwell in the body, it's okay to be in the body.
Yeah.
So we're getting something. We're getting some kind of like it's okay to just be in the body. Which of
Yeah.
course, there's many versions of reasons why it's not okay. Like it's not safe, or it's scary, or it's whatever.
No, I have been wanting to get more integrated with my body.
Aha.
I think I think I have like a social anxiety, which I'm only like which like comes and goes.
Hmm.
Um and I've been sort of I guess meditating on that.
Mhm.
Because I like it's weird because like it like the I find often the way I start a conversation, um it like starts off on the wrong foot like every single time.
It's almost like an enigma if you got it every time, like some magical phenomena where it's just always wrong.
Yeah. And there's like a pass, like it feels like there's this password that I'm trying to like hack, where if I did whatever the right, like the way in a certain way, then my result would be much more in line with the experience that I want to have.
Okay, so when you say you're in the body more, what, in contrast to what, or like, what's it like being here more in the body?
Um, there is a tingly sensation.
Mhm.
But it's
Is that in any particular location in the body, or it's just kind of all over the place?
hands a lot.
The hands,
It
yeah.
was I think, more in my like body.
Mhm.
I kind of go move more in, moving more out as we're talking.
Mhm.
Because I think my voice, like the part of me, there's like the brain part of me that's trying to understand the words that you're saying
Mhm.
is like not part of that exactly. Like it's not part of the body.
Mhm. Oh, maybe now's a good time to try out like the body as an antenna. Like, can you listen with the whole body? Maybe, he says.
What am I listening to?
Oh yeah, I
What do you want
suppose
to
I
hear?
probably need to be saying things to get the whole like listening with the whole body phenomena.
No, I think the saying things doesn't matter that much to the
No,
body.
you could listen to emptiness as well.
Well, it's not emptiness. It's like bodies talk to each other, right? And they do their
Mm.
own thing that minds don't. Like they do a different thing than what minds do, or let's say thoughts, whatever. I
Mhm.
know I feel like people are going to nitpick all this stuff, but um uh like it's like chemistry, right? Like if you're with someone and there's like a physical chemistry, there's like chemistry between you, like that's not an intellectual or thoughts or like whatever, like it's just something different.
Mhm.
I think those are bodies talking to each other, and then and the bodies will have conversations with each other. Do we like each other? How do we feel? And
Mhm.
so you might like this has definitely happened to me where people maybe you don't like the person intellectually, but like there's this like that doesn't really matter. Like
Mhm.
that's a very small part of what's going on. And so you have all these thoughts, why is the person bad? Why is this? Why is that? But then your bodies are doing a thing, and like they sort of get to be in charge.
I feel like I can kind of control that. Like I can send a very low level, like I don't like you body signal, or like I'm angry at you, or like various.
Yeah, but should you?
Well, it's an
Why
interesting
are you
thing
using
to
it?
experiment with. I can also send the nice ones like I like you and like you're nice, or like
Yeah.
yeah, but there's like a information channel that is like bodies whispering at each other, kind of, which can be seen or heard or missed. Some people miss them. Um,
Hmm.
it's maybe a nice like poetic metaphor is that uh, our bodies are like whispering things to the universe, and
Doesn't feel like a whisper.
like asking questions. Sometimes more like a whisper, but like a whisper in the sense that it's not like a overt explicit language, and if you aren't paying attention, it doesn't have to be there. But yes, it doesn't. It's not necessarily quiet. Like you can see someone who's depressed, they're like sending this message out, like.
Yeah. Like that's not sometimes it's not a whisper, right? Like that's like it could be like a shower, be like, dude, like chill, like you're driving me nuts, even
I've
though they're
had
not saying,
some really interesting ones. Is I
like it's too
was
loud, I can't.
working with someone who was incredibly confused, like disoriented, confused all of the time, and it was remarkable because uh I was just like, oh yes, we're in a state of confusion now. We're just gonna float around and be lost for a while. And they're like,
Yeah.
what? How did you name the experience I was going through? I was like, it's obvious your body is it's just like radiating out of you. They're like, I don't know anything. Ah.
Yeah. I have this friend that she's a Gemini. So she's always whatever.
You say that as if it's like strong informational content or something.
No, people that know, like people that know.
Okay.
uh,
She's the central category of the class Gemini. And if you know what the
yeah,
class
so
is, then
Gemini
she's the
is,
central category of it.
yeah, it's the twins, so it's like multiple personalities that are going on essentially. But I don't mean that in like the clinical way. Um, and so like I can see where she's like doing a thing, and then she'll like say a thing that's like really like important and this, and I'm like, and then I'll just pause. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just waiting for you to flip again to your the next
The other version.
the next side of the die." And then she's like, "Ah," and it just happens. She's like, "How did you know?" I'm like, "I can see these things now."
So do you see it as a peristalsis, like a mental contraction in one way and then like a change of mental contraction?
No. Okay, so the
Mm.
Peristalsis is new. Like this is the today thing, not a
Right.
long time.
Right. But can you reflect back and
Yeah,
use the new
but
model?
to reflect back into with her is I think it does like a jump. I think like
Oh,
her
okay.
peristalsis is not like for me. I want like not that I have it, but I want to have that like smooth peristalsis all the time
Mm.
because then you just feel good and you don't get the indigestion and like you want your stomach to be doing that the whole time, right? Like
Right.
you don't want to have like
Procedural, step by step, as opposed to like jumping around.
it's not exactly like it's not exactly procedural, right? But like you don't like your stomach does it sometimes where it just decides, okay, this isn't working, like we're not doing this anymore and we're going to just shove everything out, right? And then that's called diarrhea, and some people do that verbally.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's funny because I think it is connected to like to continue this metaphor path, like because it feels really real to me. Is it like if you're eating bad ideas or bad actions or whatever, like yeah, maybe they taste good, but you're gonna need to get rid of that. like it's gonna be fine maybe for a little bit, but then you're gonna need to get rid of it. And then they do like the panic and the emotions, and then the things switch. And I think she does this thing where she switches, so she jumps from like personality to personality. but it's like fun because like she lets me do like the awareness and like talk about the stuff. I actually really like her. Like we have great stuff, even though I normally hate this character trait, but she's like just really open to experience or really open to my like meta awareness and talking about it. And so like it's like sort of like a joke, and that's like part of the joke, and then we're together doing that, and then it becomes really fun.
Very cool.
I don't know, that was a sidetrack, I think.
It's fine.
Actually. How do you tell when something's a distraction or when something is the focus?
Well, that seems like an awareness skill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like how would you measure that? Like, yeah. Like, how do you measure it? I'm curious. I got my measurement.
Do I measure it first of all?
Okay.
Well, like, I think there's it's so first of all, a new thing can become the focus. Like we can just, we're going this way, we can actually just turn that way and keep going that way. Like that can be the new focus. But I think I'm going by feel. Like I can feel what is the center and what is not the center, moment by moment. Like what is the center in mental experience, or what is the center of the thing I'm trying to say. Occasionally, like I'll have a blind spot, or like I can't see the center, but I can sort of talk around it. But usually I can speak to the center of where things are. That's why
is that the focus? Is the center always the focus?
Usually, or also if it's not the focus, then staying in the center is still important because you can talk around. If the focus is the surrounding loop or like the thing we can see from the center, you still need to be tracking the center.
Yeah, the center is like the center is like the center of balance,
right?
Orientation.
Well, I would say it's like the center of what you mean, and so it's necessary to know where the center of what you mean is. Otherwise, you can very much confuse yourself. For example, let's say you had a fight with a friend, right? Fight with friend one, and then you go to talk to a friend two about it, right? And as you're talking to friend two about it, you're like, internally, you're like, I feel mean saying this, and then you say it. So you like lean off to the side towards the like, I feel mean saying this bit, and then you like, the next sentence you lean off to the side, and you're like, this is a too kind interpretation, right? So your sentence is still here, but your next sentence is a too kind interpretation. And then you're like, what if I look at it from over here? And what about like, how would he feel about it? Friend one feel about it? And like, it's all, there's something in the center. But if you don't have the center, what happened is this, right? There's this like moving around thing without knowing that we were like leaning off to the side. And
you're center. Moving and then your orientation is moving as well.
Right. So it's important to be able to track that. What is the center? And sort of it's helpful if you can also transmit the center as well as the like leaning off to the side.
Yeah, this is interesting because I do this in converse in a lot of things, and I find this a very difficult idea to express. Right. But yeah, when you're trying to like deal with something, like figure it out or solve a problem or appreciate or whatever, like there's a center to that, but that doesn't mean that you're always at the center.
Right.
So like parenting, like when I'm out with my kid, he's always the center, but that doesn't mean I'm on top of him the whole time. or that doesn't mean I'm trying to get as close to the center as possible. I'm wanting to do a move closer and farther and different angles, different directions, right? Like, because that's how play works. But there is always this there is always this center of balance to where I am and what's going on. And I'm always paying attention relative to that. Versus what's the thing I'm focusing on, which could be a periphery. Because sometimes I'll focus on like the danger that's near there, and then like that's my attention. But then there's still that center of focus of him.
Yep.
Feels good. I'm glad we're doing this.
Right. So I think that I seem to have a skill of translating from one person to another, or translating from someone else to me. And one of the aspects that goes into that skill,
mimetic mediation. That's what they call it.
Right. But one of the skills that goes into that is I can see where everyone is center and where they are leaning. And so someone may say something and I'll be like, oh, you mean like slightly to the left of that? And they're like, yeah, that's what I meant. Because they were leaning off center when they like were saying their perspective.
Right. People don't always say the thing they mean. They modify it based off of circumstances, or based off of their perception of circumstances.
Right.
And so if you see how they orient towards the center, then when they say a thing, you can see, oh, you're off by like a couple of degrees or feet.
Right. So for example, like if someone is excited about something, they are not just telling you this is the thing, they're like, they will exaggerate by virtue of being excited. Yeah. So there's like a correction factor if you want to know what the real thing is, to like correct for excitement. So that you know what they mean, rather than like being caught up in their hype. Yeah, without killing their excitement. Right. That's hard. You want to be true to the things that are going on, like to the things that we're talking about in the center. You want to be true to the center, and then you want to be true to the context that they're in as well, because they're also taking all these different angles, and you want to support them in that, and also keep the center clear. I'd say also like younger people are less skilled at holding the same perspective of consistent over time. And so they're trying to go over here, like, isn't it a cute dog? And then they're like way too excited, and then they scare the dog. And then they're like, oh, I have to like suppress my excitement when I approach dogs. And then I have a like way too excited with suppression. And so I've done a like this sort of move in order to try and be here. And then they're like, that whole thing as they grow might grow, and so it'll then be a shoot up and then a shoot back, and then they need a new correction. But I really like them, and so the map to dog now has 3 different diversions on it, as opposed to the like let go of all that fuss and just like enjoy the dog. Yeah, I was actually doing this parenting thing because my son has just gotten into slides. Like he can do it more or less by himself. Run up to the slide, run up to the top, and like slide down. Yeah, so he's having trouble getting from the bottom of the slide to the stairs. Like he hasn't really like exactly, and so we'll do it like I'll take him, and then he sees the stairs and goes straight for the stairs. But just based off of how it is, like you have to go around. You have to go around a thing. Right, you got to get to the other side where the stairs are to go up the stairs to go down the slide. Yeah, and so he'll try to climb on the stair that's too tall for him, and it's supposed to just like going 2 feet. But he sees where he wants to go, and for him to be able to retain that attention, and like kind of like the goal is so close, but let it go because you need to walk the path around. Yeah.
It's like going to a door when you see the thing you want through a window, and then you have to go farther away to go through the door.
Right. Birthday cake through the window. Oh no, I have to
Yeah,
walk through the door to get the birthday, as opposed to like charging straight through the window.
right, right. And then like you're so close, but like you'll never get there like that. The person's that by the door is closer, even though they're further.
Hmm.
And so it's like, yeah, like to keep this as like the center point, while still like, even though then the focus shifts to this to the path to the other stair, and like maybe shifting like for the metaphors, like to shift on the lock and like to get your key, and now you're focused on the key and the lock and this and that, but your center is still
Birthday cake.
um the birthday cake. All right, I want to take a swing at something.
Yep, right. Daniel's going to take a swing at something.
Okay, so what is the center of everything? Like, what is the center that you're always tracking that never goes away?
Sure. Yep.
Let's do it.
I have an answer, but I'm going to let you swing at it.
I have an answer too,
Right.
but I don't want to jump the gun. Let's flesh it out a little more. Maybe like describe its qualities or something, or you can just share your answer if you want.
So there's attention and there's awareness, right? So awareness, it seems to be the like everything field, and the attention seems to be the thing that I'm focused on. When it seems like the attention point is at the center of the awareness field. So if I put my attention over there, my awareness field sort of like surrounds the attention point. The attention point is at the center of awareness, except that I can sort of shift. What happens when I go to put my attention on something on the other side of the room is that I like pull that thing to the center of my attention awareness field, and I like put it there, even temporarily. I put it there to like look at it, and then it's like surrounding mental map relationship is in the broader awareness space. And this is confusing because sometimes we're like, no, it's over there. But actually what I've done when I put my attention on it is I put it in the center of the field, which messes with people until they get used to like the moving field and the fact that the field is always centered on what the attention is on.
All right, I don't think I followed it. Let's do it again. You have your attention. Your attention is always in the middle of your awareness.
Yep.
Okay. But I mean, is it? Because like sometimes you want to be like, if you're aware of a football field, but then there's a player, like the ball is in a certain place, like that. Maybe that the ball's like your attention's going to move around, but your awareness is going to stay the same. Or do you shift? Do you shift like so part of the football field is outside awareness?
Right. So imagine that like we've got a camera and the center of the lens is on the football. The football is moving around the field. How much of the field is in awareness depends
like
on
the football versus how.
Right. But also you say the field is in awareness, even if it's zoomed out as far as it can, there's different bits of the field kind of like more in awareness and different bits of the field more fuzzy in awareness, like more near the periphery.
Yeah.
Because it seems like there's a finite size of awareness. We just can't hold everything at once.
Right.
Much as it might feel like we're holding boundlessness or holding a like infinitude, realistically there is, like if I had a wall in front of me covered in numbers, digits, numbers 1 to 10, random numbers, and I picked the number in the middle and put my attention on the one in the middle, and I tried to like have my awareness have everything in it, and I tried to read a number over there, I couldn't, just couldn't, because It can't, eyeballs can't do that, first of all.
Right. Sometimes you can do like what I do with Sudoku sometimes is I'll let certain numbers pop out.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So like I can't read, like I'll make it so I can't read the numbers that aren't 9. And then all the 9s pop out to me.
That's very interesting. I'll have to try that at some point.
Yeah, I find this.
But there's still going to be a limit. There's going to be a limit near the periphery where it's just not as good as the center. There's some quality of attention, some quality of awareness where the center is more focused than the periphery.
Yeah, for sure. Like for sure, there's always that trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
I like that camera on the football analogy. Mm-hmm. Because like they do that in sports all the time, where you have the sports ball and then you got the camera focusing on it. Sometimes they'll zoom in, sometimes they'll zoom out, and there's more zoomed in it is, the better you can see the sports ball. But then the more zoomed out, the better you can have a situational awareness.
Right, the other players, the whatever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then like the I guess the camera person, mm-hmm. I don't know what they're called, the camera operator is making those judgment calls of mm-hmm. of how are we going to look at this, and then I guess there's probably a different person that even decides what camera we're going to use.
So I think it's something like there'd be 10 or 20 people operating cameras from various different angles, generally trying to point towards the ball and what's going on. Then there's someone in a control room who's like, okay, we want shot 3 live now, and then we want to switch to shot 5, and then we want to like sort of switching between angles so that the audience can see.
Yeah.
And so the audience can have like a ongoing journey type experience relationship with watching.
Yeah. So you're switching perspective a lot, mm-hmm. and then even the cameras themselves are switching focus. And I guess there's this overall narrative that they're trying to.
Right. Well, it's also that the game is a narrative that the ball is going into various places based on the team players' actions, and all we want to do is kind of like track those actions over time.
That's like a frame or context or something. I think it's like bigger. There's like a narrative. I mean, of like, oh, the tension and the teams are this and that, and then that's within a context of sports. Mm-hmm. Like this is a sport that's happening,
right?
And that's within a league and whatever. And then you have like the underdogs against the dominators, and then you have this guy doing the thing.
The star player.
I don't really watch sports.
I'm just enjoying Daniel trying to construct sport for like.
I could switch to video games. Like I would know. I've actually watched like.
No, I was really enjoying the like sport through the lens of sport ball and underdogs and the what did you call the other ones?
I don't know, but it was probably not a good name.
It was the underdogs and the oppressive team or something.
Yeah, the incumbents, I think.
Incumbents. Yeah. And yeah.
And home team advantage, and then like Tom Brady is like, I don't even follow sports, but I know Tom Brady is like a big deal, and stuff there, and he throws the football, and
home team advantage is totally a thing,
right, and so you have to like home team advantage, and like that, they build that into the narrative, but then that's also in like that happens on all the layers of abstraction, right? Like it happens with the players, it happens with like with the league like does stuff around that.
All right.
I don't know what they do, but I do know that it's a thing that they do.
So this is Psychotech, right? So we've mentioned a crazy random wild phenomena called home team advantage. What do you think is going on in home team advantage?
I think there's a couple things. So like I guess to like move it, like, okay, so this is a good thing. Like my peristalsis is showing up. Like, should we start with the broader stuff and then move down, or should we start with like the focus stuff and then move out? I usually tend to zoom in on the details and then move out, which might be like a little bit of like a artistic kind of thing tendency. But yeah, I mean, like on the details is like every field has their own like particulars. And so if that's your home field, if that's where you practice, then you just know, oh, like the ground is slightly uneven here, or like, oh, the grass just got cut, so that means that, you know, this and that, or
So
the light
so
comes at a certain.
home team advantage is knowing the nuance and the details of the field.
There's a lot of things, but I think one of them is that like racers will like they'll do the track a bunch of times and they'll like get the temperatures and they'll like do all these like things that I don't understand and are meaningless to me, but to them like like, oh, the rock, there's a rock here and there's, you know, like the asphalt is thicker here than there, that means the heat is different, so that the tires are going to have different friction, so that means I can, you know, like take this turn differently. And I think like you have that like with yeah, so you have like a million of these details that are going on. You know, even the wind, like I was at the park, I take my parenting really seriously, so it's like maybe like in ways that are too much, but I was at the park and we're blowing bubbles and I noticed that there's this like wind vortex by the slide. So just because like I'm doing bubbles and like I never even thought of it, and I noticed the bubbles did this like weird like down up and then like a twirly upwards by the slide, and so you can see the air currents, how they interact. And like when I first did the bubbles, I didn't know, like I was just doing them randomly, but then as I'm doing it more, I was able to do it in a way where I'm like standing off, like wandering around doing like a weird thing and just like moving it around, but based off of where the wind is, I'm having the bubbles go where I want them to go.
Mm.
And like you don't get that unless you've been practicing that.
Mm.
And so there's a certain advantage of just like having that intuition of just knowing it, that you would get in a home field place, like in somewhere where you've been practicing a lot versus somewhere new.
Are you turning into a crazy bubble dad? Because there are like a couple of people I've met in my life who are crazy bubble people.
I don't know what is that, because
So
I'll tell you,
like bubbles, just like every subculture, bubbles have like an infinitely deep hole that you can fall down if you want to get into bubbles.
That's funny. It's funny because I'm like I was starting to get into it because I started doing my own bubble recipe. I got
yes, it's too late. Oh no, don't look at the light, Daniel. You've already fallen down the hole.
Yeah, because you get glycerin, apparently it makes the bubbles stronger.
Oh man, he already knows about the glycerin.
Which glycerin is just like a sugar or something. And then bubbles are just soap and water.
Right. Have you got the fishing rods yet and the string for the like giant?
No, tell me about that. I've been thinking about that. I haven't.
Oh no. Oh no, what have I done?
I've been using a ball, but yeah, I have to go.
Ball?
Like, yeah, like he's like old enough now where the like a ball is interesting to him.
Right.
And so I have like a tennis ball and I throw it and then he goes. Because yeah, you want to find these things that are really easy for you to do that take up a lot of time for them to do and require them to do.
So you've taught him fetch. You've taught him fetch.
Yeah, well, catch. It's called catch.
Oh, okay. So bubbles, you can get the deep hole of the subculture of bubbles is making really big bubbles.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which comes from the correct magical mixture of glycerin and soap and laundry detergent stuff and water. And they're like perfect conditions of wind and air and the giant fishing rod and string thing. And they're like, I believe the best way is... Huh? Well, so the bubbles are the size of whatever apparatus you're using to make them.
Yeah. Right?
So if you use a piece of string...
don't get too big. I have to keep them small.
Well, if you use like sticks and a string to help make a really big bubble, big loop makes big bubble.
Right. No. So the stuff I've been using is Like I have a thing and you can change the size.
Right.
But if it's too big, the bubble pops.
So
So
at
I
that
don't
point,
have
you need to invest in better string that can hold more soapy stuff
maybe.
so that you
I
can
just
make
got it
bigger
for free. Like
bubbles.
I went somewhere and they just gave it to me. But yeah, I should get like good equipment.
This subculture is infinitely deep, as I told you. You can get so the biggest bubbles you can make at like 3 a.m. when it's cold with fishing rods with string that like
Fishing line,
mop.
fishing wire, you mean?
No, fishing rods and like mop. You know how there's those hairy mops that have the like the like string mop.
Okay.
So if you unravel a string mop, that string is usually like quite thick and can hold a lot of soapy water. And so you use the string mop as the line to hold the outside of the bubble, and then you like tie it to fishing rods and hold them apart and like step backwards very carefully. Or if you really want, you learn to roller skate backwards so while you're holding it because you need to like move backwards at a steady rate.
Yeah, I have one of those hoverboards.
And then you got to be careful with the you have to be careful with the wind, and that's why you have to do it at 3 or 4 a.m. when there's no wind, and rolling backwards on a roller skate in a big flat area in order to make giant bubbles.
That's bubbles as a hobby.
Yeah, and like I said, an infinitely deep subculture.
No, that's not where
It's
my
also like a sense of accomplishment that is momentary and fleeting because the bubble always pops naturally,
yeah.
but like fun and then momentary and fleeting.
Yeah.
I think I've sold him. I think he's going to become a crazy bubble man.
So I do have the urge, like there's that impulse there to be like, oh, I'm gonna do this and it's gonna be so cool. But I already got a lot of stuff to do. And it doesn't really fit in with my life. But I do like this idea of like if people are taking bubbles seriously, like getting like maybe a proper bubble kit.
Well, you need the glycerin and you need the whichever type of soapiness makes the right soap bubble.
Right. So I got like dish soap and I got the glycerin already.
Yeah, but at some point you have to start experimenting with other brands of dish soap.
See, this is the thing. I don't want to do this. I just want someone else to have done this.
Okay,
And
I'm
then
sure
they're
if you
like,
type it into YouTube, you'll find someone who's like
yeah, this is the
made
thing.
way
Like,
too many
like
hours.
internet point 1.0 would be like perfect for this, right? Um where you have all these like random websites like pre Google, Facebook, whatever. Like someone just is really into this and then they do all the thing. Like they do all that research for you.
Right, they've done all the bubble thing, and they're like, "There's probably look if you Google, you'll probably find the guy who's got the best recipe for bubbles."
Yeah, but I don't want the recipe. I want the guy who's got the Amazon links that I could just spend like
Oh
$30.
yeah. But like it's like you said, glycerin and some dish soap and some like
Yeah,
and you're off.
yeah. No, but also yeah, like
The
the
string.
material you're making the bubbles with. Have you heard this bubbles as metaphor for like consciousness or enlightenment?
Um,
Or not metaphor, but like lived experience or
it
something.
doesn't quite pop up as like obvious to me, but all metaphors. But I'm sure like you have this thing where everything's a metaphor if for enlightenment if you go hard enough.
No. It's like a natural metaphor. Like the
Okay,
peristalsis
yeah.
is a natural metaphor for me.
All right.
Like I didn't
Tell me the
come up
metaphor.
with
Let's
that.
go for the metaphor.
Felt that way. I don't know it exactly, but because like it's like an experience. Like Sadhguru talks about it, and I get these like
Is it like
sort
ego
of
popping
flash-
or
not popping, but like popping would be like death, right? So if the inside is nothingness and the outside is nothingness, and so you're just that which contains the nothingness of the inside.
right? There's like a sort of boundary of your ego when
Yeah,
you're like I'm the stuff inside the bubble.
yeah.
That
And we're all
under investigation, the stuff is nothingness, as is the boundary, as the stuff outside, and then there's this nice peaceful like oh everything is nothing phenomena followed by I still got to do stuff tomorrow, so keep going.
I don't think that checks, but that doesn't vibe. Those are different. That's the flip. Like that's just like a switch, right? Like, oh, everything is nothingness. Now I got shit to do tomorrow. So fuck off. I'm gonna go.
Well, I
Right,
need to like work out what I'm gonna do tomorrow somehow. It seems rare that people get stuck in nothingness permanently, and they're like, everything is nothingness, and like the next moment everything is still nothingness, and the next moment everything is still nothingness. So I'm not going to get out of bed. I'm not going to do anything.
Oh no, that's a jump as well, right? Like not doing a thing or doing it, like saying everything is nothing. So I'm going to, sit in my bed all day and do nothing. Like that's also a jump, right?
Right. There's like putting some sort of sentimental of some kind on your nothingness phenomena. Nothingness doesn't tell you to sit in bed any more than it tells you not to sit in bed.
Right. It cancels itself out.
Continue your day as you were yesterday.
Yeah. But it doesn't entirely cancel itself out because the nothingness on the outside and nothingness on the inside are not exactly the same. So there is directional impact on it, but it's probably not sit in your bed and do nothing and feel miserable all day. Like that's probably not what it, like that's something else.
Well, miserable is something, not a nothing, so it's already a problem.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is, watching the bubbles gave me the insight that there's nothing inside the bubble, nothing outside the bubble. But like that's obviously not true. Like there is air inside and there's air outside. And so that thing that we're calling nothingness is probably air. Like not literally air, but like someone else's air.
No. There's something else we're calling nothingness. Underneath the air, there's something else we're calling nothingness. So let's like branch real quick down the pathway of different.
Right, whatever. But there's gradients, right? Like there's like even like the jhanas, right? So you get the different kinds of nothingness. You're
that's not the jhanas don't say different kinds of nothingness. There's only one jhana of nothingness. There's a boundless space, there's a boundless consciousness, there's a nothingness, and then there's a neither perception nor non-perception. Right? There's not different kinds of nothingness. There's only one nothingness.
Well, okay, so if you squint, there are different kinds of nothingness. I don't mean this in a technical sense.
Yes, the boundless spaciousness often seems like it's a boundless
space
filled with nothing.
Nothing there. But
except that it's not. It's more like the quality of spaciousness than it is the quality of nothingness when you get real technical.
Right. But what I mean is that like in the boundless spaciousness, there's nothing there. Like there's no tissue box isn't there.
Well, that's the thing though. Boundless space can be filled with stuff.
No, if you
in a way that like boundless nothingness can't be filled with stuff.
What?
The boundless space can be filled with stuff in the way that boundless nothingness can't be filled with stuff.
Right, but it could also be nothing. Like there could be nothing.
Oh, it can be filled. It can be empty. An empty.
Yeah, it can be empty. Space. Right. Okay, you're calling it empty, but what's there? There's nothing there.
Right.
So it's like a different kind of nothing.
But that's like what is actually the jhana? Is the jhana just the spaciousness no matter what's filling it, or are we talking about the spaciousness?
I think the jhana is the spaciousness itself, like experiencing spaciousness. And if you're doing it, like that 3-hour thing that pureness, then you're just experiencing the spaciousness, the pure spaciousness without anything else for the 3 hours. And then that would be the like mastery of the jhana.
Right. Yes, debatable, complex, yes.
Whatever. I think that's a standard like that we're holding as like pure mastery.
I think what I'm mastery. I pulled the 3-hour criteria out of a book. A couple of meditation teachers.
It seems about right to me because you have a like to do an activity is around like you can do an activity for around 3 hours. Like you can't really, you don't really want to do it past that, or and two less than that, you're not really in it. So it's like maybe like 2.5, 3 hours. Maybe there's a little leeway there. But I think like a university lecture is 3 hours. Movies are shorter. Movies are like two a bit.
Just like very bad epistemic reasoning about what is 3 hours and why is 3 hours a good length of time.
No, this is a good length of time for the standards for what we should call mastery. Yeah, I think it is.
This is like the banana is shaped like the hand sort of epistemics.
Well, because these are Schelling points, right? Like, what do you call a master? That's not a real thing, right? It's just a convention that we use. And so, but we do want to set some conventional standards so that we can communicate, where we're at and where we're trying to go and things like that. So yeah, I actually really like the standard for about 3 hours. For like, if you can do the thing for 3 hours, then you're a master, which I can't. So.
You should try. You might find that you can. Admittedly, finding 3 spare hours might be tricky for your lifestyle, but
yeah, 3 hours to do nothing, like to actively block out to not respond to the world around me.
Right. This is the luxury of meditators. They run away to a monastery or whatever to do the thing they need to do.
Yeah, meditation is such a privilege. And it's so funny because it's appreciate that you can sit and do nothing while you can, because depending on how your life goes, you might hit it is very possible you're gonna get to a point where you literally can't do that. Right. That literally becomes a luxury. Like for me, my meditation that I've been doing really nice is with my kid, we go outside somewhere where there's no dangers, and I just lie under a tree and stare at it. But there's still, or just enjoy, just be at peace. But there's still there's still that there's still that center of balance to a certain extent, but I can relax a lot. That's a big thing, actually. That's really interesting. Like a parenting thing, I've noticed with the fatigue. There's a fatigue of always keeping that center of balance. And especially it's this guy, and you don't know what he's going to do. You don't know what he can do, because that changes every day. Oh, now he can just climb upstairs. He just climbing things now. That just happened today. He's just started climbing things. I'm you couldn't do that yesterday.
Right. And so now you need to be aware that he may pull things off objects because he can climb up.
Yeah, now the stove. Now we got to do the stove. We got to child protect the stove now. Because before he couldn't really reach it or pull himself up. Now he's pulling himself up, and if that door falls, it's gonna hit him and it's gonna suck.
The joys of parenting.
Yeah.
I also think that if you get good at meditating, then you become kind of famous, and reality invades to steal your meditation time.
Is that true?
You get students, and you get you're too good at it, right? You get students, and you get a speaking tour, and you get the please come over here, great teacher, and teach us.
Is that true? Okay, because I don't think that's I've been doing this a while and paying attention to trying to notice these kind of things, and I don't think it's I don't think the famous people I think there's the correlation between fame and ability is, I don't want to say orthogonal, but it might,
as in fame for meditative prowess, being a good meditation teacher.
Well, there's a difference between being a good meditation teacher and being a good meditator, which I get the correlation.
That's true. That is true. Although I'd say that after a while of meditating, you get better at teaching because you've had all the experiences, and you've
yeah. And
I've done that. I know what that's like. I can tell you what to do from there,
Right. I've made all the mistakes. So
right.
A good teacher is someone that's made all the mistakes. Or
enough of them to know the shape of mistake map. And when you're I'm falling asleep, they can say, well, you need this type of solution for that. When you come to them and you're I'm being distracted, they can tell you where to go from there.
Yeah.
Teacher guidance. Anyway, they've made
Yeah.
enough of the
Yeah.
mistakes that they know the whole landscape, or enough of the whole
Right.
landscape.
So that's, I think, like sort of like that objective, like that center. If we're talking about the center, like that's the person that we want at the center of the teachers, the teaching is the person that is actually like confident in all the things, and has a good intuitive and or theoretical map of the landscape. But that's not how you get fame, right? Like the road to fame is not competency. It's I actually don't know what it is. I've been like,
Well, yeah, if not competency, what is the road to fame?
I don't know, but like I legitimately don't know, and it's something I've been looking at and trying to figure out for a
Well,
while.
like, first of all, there's probably a few roads to fame, and competency may be helpful, or is probably quite helpful. Clearly, there's some sort of need to amplify, or like, not just like, by amplify, I mean like you might need to record something and then publish it, and like record something and publish it, and do a lot of that in order for people to find it useful and spread it around. Amplify the signal that is you in some way, shape. Not
Yeah,
necessarily.
there's something very important about amplifying a signal, even if the original signal is not so good, but the amplification.
Right. Another detail might be you need to make some sort of impact, either a really, really, really strong impact on a small number of people, or a like small impact on a great number of people in order to start getting fame. That the small number of people will then spread the signal, or the large number of people are receiving the signal.
You're taking this is a very like spiritual path perspective,
Right.
Versus like I'm thinking like Paris Hilton.
Right. No. I'm talking like fame, being spiritually famous, or famous in the spiritual landscape world. Not the being famous in the world of meditators, sort of, or the world of people who are good at their craft.
Right. So you're like picking like this subgroup of people
ways, right? The subgroup of different fame,
or subculture, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're more interested in the like wealth fame, or the like I mean, you can name them, right? There's movie star fame, there is sports star fame, there is artist fame, there like let's say you're a musician artist fame.
But there's
politician fame.
Is there different fames, or is it like the fame is the same thing and then people do it, they have different like a different skill that they use?
I would say that you might have to ask someone who's deeper in different fame networks. Like being a famous doctor is probably very different to being a famous movie star.
Well, there's fame, yeah, but and then I guess there's also like different kinds of famous. Like Dr. Oz is very famous, but I like
TV famous.
He's very TV, yeah, like he's very famous in the world. Like I say, Dr. Oz, probably almost everyone listening knows who he is, but it could be that a lot of doctors don't know who he is because they don't like they're in a different world. Even though he's a famous doctor, but he's not a famous doctor's doctor.
So then there's wealthy fame, like there's sort of technology, innovative fame, there's spiritual fame, like that. How many more are there?
Almost like an infinite, like just like go on YouTube and you'll see like all these.
Okay, so there's social media
like Andrew Tate famous for like he was a kickboxer and he was a reality TV show.
Right.
He was
right. You can do multiple things.
He's famous.
Oh, I don't know why he's famous. Is it?
Yeah, I don't know why he's famous either. But I know he is famous. And then there's like Peterson, right? Like Peterson is like a famous psychologist, and he is famous for psychology, but that's not why.
Well, I'd say he's famous two things. One is the psychology, and another is the YouTube fame or the TV fame, sort of, or the social media fame. Not so much social media. They're like YouTube. Let's call it YouTube fame.
Yeah, social culture war fame. I think Andrew Tate is famous. He's a culture war warrior.
Oh no. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention warrior fame or like army military fame. But there's like how many more types of fame are there?
Oh, this like I'm infinite.
No. Name another one.
Um, plumbers or electricians. Oh, scientists.
Fame.
Every
Okay, so there's science fame because
every
there's Nobel
science field.
Prizes. I don't know if there is a plumber fame in the same way that there is these other types of fame.
I bet you if we did like 10 minutes of Googling, we would deep dive the plumber community and there would
Okay.
be like all these things going.
Most
How
famous.
about bubble famous?
Okay,
Or
that's
like
just
the
social
best.
media fame.
Did you
Okay.
see actually recently there's this guy that is really good at like vaping. He makes like these O's and like crazy. He's
That's just
like
social media fame again.
that's how I relate to him. But if I bet like if I'm like, oh, this guy's so cool, and I went to like hang out with the vapor community, they'd be like, oh, Daniel's a poser because he only knows how to use.
There's one I haven't named, and that's royal fame, royalty.
And I bet this
But
guy has created
royalty is
about
part wealth as well.
what?
There's one I haven't named is royalty, but royalty is part wealth, fame.
Royalty's not a wealth thing, I think.
Well, it's
It's like a
both.
different
It's
category.
part like ordained and by the fact that they claim royalty, royalship, and part wealth.
Well, that's I think like if you have like a royal family, let's say.
Yes,
But
that's
if
why.
like in England, but if you have like Russia had after the Tsars got ousted, like there was all these royalty people that went around Europe and did, went to different places and they were famous and they may have been in poverty or impoverished and like monetarily, but they had status and they had like this allure because of royalty in exile.
I don't think there's that many more categories of famousness left, having named all of these.
Okay, how about the rationalists? They got Bukowski and
Uh,
got Alexander. Those guys are very famous,
uh,
a very select subgroup.
yeah, that's among a subculture. I don't know if you. I mean, this is an interesting question. Like if you make a new thing, like a rationality or another movement, or like,
Yeah, Will McCaskill is starting to get like almost real world famous.
right. But if you make a movement and you like spread the message of the movement enough, you can create a new type of fame, like famous for a new type of thing. Like when rock stars first became a thing, or like sports stars, that like there was a time when being a sports star really didn't do much because we didn't have video technology. And then there was a time beyond that when video technology could make people more famous because we could amplify. There's a
Yeah.
time when like news media fame, as in like being a famous newspaper author, probably meant something, or even a famous author.
Yeah, writers, journalists.
And it would have been a time before you could get famous for writing things because writing was quite difficult and quite select. There's like the movie star fame, or like even the wealth fame. Like if you go back in time 1,000 years, it was probably a lot more difficult to be famous because there was less wealth in the world. The wealth of the world was sort of still buried in the earth and hadn't been worked. So, like, I mean, depends on your model of economics, but the value add came from the people, or out of the value add came out of the earth. But somehow we added value to society's existence.
Well, you had like kings and stuff, like
Right, but they
and
weren't.
that would like I think a
They would
thousand
have
years
been
ago.
wealthy, but there wouldn't have been that many of them, and there wouldn't have been many other things to be famous for necessarily.
Well, you had a lot of petty kingdoms, I think.
Probably, yeah.
Like let's say like before England was unified, so there's all these like
Little.
yeah, or lords or whatever you want to call them.
All right, fame as a phenomena is an interesting phenomena. I will give you that.
Yeah. I would like to know more about it because it's a thing like there's like Like I want a little bit of it, but I don't want too much. And I think, and
What
like just like being around, I've seen people.
what part of fame interests you particularly?
Okay, the thing that's really attracted to me fame now is that people will reach out to you, which means I don't like I can just stop doing a lot of stuff.
Mm.
Like I don't have to like find
You
opportunities.
don't have to initiate; they will come to you.
Yeah. It acts as a shelling point. So you're talking like the center of balance. Oh shit, maybe that's what famous is. It's like you're that center of balance.
Ah,
So you're the thing people orient around. And so I want like I want some of it, but not too much of it, because it's gonna like mess up the world if I'm the center of the world, like the world's not gonna go well. But like a little bit of it is good.
all right.
Yeah, because like there are things I can shift and move, and I can like that will or reorient around me.
So you want the
Right,
power that comes with fame?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want that power that comes with fame, but not too much power.
Okay. You want the power, but without the responsibility. Got it.
No, I want the power and the responsibility, but in lower doses. Not,
Okay.
not.
Yeah. I guess
like I don't
too
want to
much of anything is too much of anything becomes a problem.
Yeah. I was watching The Boys, which is a TV show about like superheroes, and it's pretty much like these superheroes, but like they can't control their powers half the time. So they're like super strong or can shoot lasers or whatever, but they wind up like killing people accidentally all the time because they can't control it.
Uh-huh.
And you don't want that much power. Like that's bad. That's actively bad. But you don't want to be powerless either, because there's also these characters that don't have powers, and then they try to do things and they can't do anything because everybody is way stronger than them and just listens. And so you want to have, I think it's the same thing. Like it's like the thing we're talking about. Like you don't want 100% awareness. You don't want 100% focus. Like it's like almost balance in all things, where you want to have that balance of power where it's improving your life and those around you and those you love, and you want to be the center of balance to the extent that you're stabilizing and improving and creating a better equilibrium. And there's another half of the thought that I don't know what it is.
So that is it. So that if to tie it all the way back to peristalsis, is it so that the peristalsis can do its job very easily, or like just smoothly?
Yeah, exactly. Like you want that smooth peristalsis, and so you want, like, you don't want that like I think the muscles in the stomach, they're made of different muscle fibers. So if you have a collection of like if you have like a band that's like really strong compared to those around it, you're gonna have a weird, like the food's not gonna move nicely, and then the body's gonna suffer. And if your muscles and if your muscles are too strong, that or I'm kind of losing it. Maybe this is my diarrhea moment. Psychotechnologies
Psychotechnologies live.